On that note, we should talk the big one from the last couple of days, which is Dynamite from Wednesday. Talked a couple of AEW news and notes there in the news rundown, but it felt like a newsworthy Dynamite in itself as well. All kinds of directions coming out. We'll try to avoid Collision spoilers. I'll just say the directions you see in Dynamite probably are likely to continue over on Collision. Hint, hint. But yeah, some really good stuff. So it was a weird show, Dynamite, this week for me, JP. It felt like kind of a show with two halves. I was watching along with the Discord and kind of scratching my head at that opening WWE promo. Honestly, our friend Michael Sidgwick pointed out like a promo train into an impromptu tag match, into a match where the tag team champions, speaking of ROH, get wiped out by one man. Has there ever been a more Vince McMahon opening segment? A lot of people are rushing to judgment on blaming Jen Pepperman for that one, as she's now on staff. But something definitely felt different in that first hour of Dynamite. I don't know if that's quite the reason, but new presentation as well, so we had that. A few things I hated, a lot I loved, and just generally overall a different, for good and bad, vibe out of this week's Dynamite for me, JP.
Yeah, I mean, if the vibe was reset, then they managed to achieve that. And that goes, I mean, the intro, it felt pretty nondescript rock to me. In terms of the theme music and the kind of the intro was fine. That's it. It's too early to judge on it. This is the thing where you need to hear this for, dare I say, a couple of months before it kind of really cements itself in the head.
The first time I heard it, probably didn't think it was a great song. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not sure this is going to get to that level, but I'm willing to give it time. I like the logo and stuff like that, and the different colors and stuff like that. It does feel this is the reset we thought they were going to do last time, and they kind of went half-hearted with it, didn't they? That was about 18 months ago now, wasn't it? But yeah, I liked all that side of it.
That's it. I at least admire the attempt to do that and to try something new for that as well. But I'm with you. Like, I mean, when I did the midweek news up, I'd seen like almost up to the Bucks promo. That's where I was. That's where I was up to. And I saw this, and I thought, I have many misgivings potentially about what they're doing with Swerve Strickland when they're kind of almost negating all of the one thing I remember saying to you about this ages ago. Like, the one thing I didn't want to see do with Swerve Strickland is try and just make him now he's a good guy. The end. Yeah. And he's just like, I've done a couple of bad things, but we're going to kind of move past it. So I'm wary about that kind of attitude for booking on there as well. But this was proper WWE when it came out. Like, I mean, Joe comes out and you're like, okay, that's fine. Then you had the Undisputed Kingdom come out. I was like, oh, Christ, here we go. And then it set up the match, which, I mean, maybe I'm wrong on this. Felt like Swerve Strickland just beat the Ring of Honor Tag Team Champions by himself. Like, more or less.
Yeah, I'm Jeff. Yeah, and it's weird like that Tony Khan can just phone in and set matches like this. It's just it's a weird device they only use when it suits them. And also set up a Wardlow match that I don't think anyone really cares about. Like that it's not a fresh take to say that Stable is dead on arrival, but every time they're on screen, you just think I'd rather you weren't there. I'd rather just leave Joe and Swerve to have if that's going to be a single shoot coming out of this, because it sounds like a little news story we didn't have in the rundown is that Hangman Page is taking some time off for personal reasons, hence him being missing from this show. Then there's probably more interesting ways to do it than tag team partners. Will they get along? Won't they get along? Will Joe manage to beat Wardlow? Yes. Spoilers, unless Tony Khan has completely lost his mind. That was the negative. I've got to jump to a positive. I haven't heard the midweek news stuff, so more fool me, JP. I don't know what you made of this book segment. I think I like the Young Bucks now. I really love them on Dynamite this week, and I may call it a hangover from the Sting stuff at Revolution. Maybe that's a big part of what it is, and how good the job they did there. I thought they kept that momentum going on Dynamite this week. I thought the backstage bit where they were doing an impression of Tony Khan was brilliant. Like, everything about it, like the facial expressions, the we have an important announcement thing. Like, this is the first time this gimmick really clicked with me. I loved all that. And then the in-ring, I honestly thought was great. I thought it was cute, because that's what they do, cutesy stuff, and that's something I've definitely criticised them for. But kicking Hangman and Omega out of the Elite, I'd actually had the thought earlier in the day, I think it was. You'll have to believe me on this. I didn't even vocalise this to Steph, but I did have the thought, oh, wouldn't it be cool if Okada joined up with the Young Bucks, and then just wasted the take. JP didn't tweet it, didn't put it in the Discord, didn't tell anyone. But it was just a little thought I had. But even in that moment when they kicked Hangman Page and Kenny Omega out, it still didn't occur to me, oh, that means Okada's going to join them. And then they brought him out, and it was like everything slotted into place. Oh, what a perfect way to bring Okada in and make him part of the depth chart, make him part of the proper main cast of AEW, than to stick with the Young Bucks and be their, their new ace of their little stable, and they can cover up for his weaknesses as far as talking and stuff like that, and working, in a Western promotion. He can help them as far as freshening them up. Just felt like a match made in heaven, JP. And I feel like even the people who were negative on it initially, when I was watching along on the Discord, I think people were like, actually, that makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense for everybody. And it immediately upped the stock of the books for me. And it immediately made me think, okay, after months of thinking, what the fuck would you do with Okada if you brought him in full time in AEW? I see the vision now. I see what they can do with Okada. Dickhead, rich guy heel like he was early in the days in New Japan. Hook to my veins. Fucking love it, JP. And think of what, not to mention all the possible matches that are going to come out of this.
Oh, I'm with you on this. I knew he turned up and he turned heel, because I had that sort of spoil for me. So I was like, okay, how are they going to do this? And then when watching them do this, initially my fear was, okay, they're talking about the Elite. I don't want to fucking hear them talk about the Elite. I want them to kind of move on, which they have done. Now, I think, like you say, there's several things they managed to achieve for this. The only thing you'd say is Eddie Kingston coming out necessarily is a kind of it's a forced kind of plot point as much as anything. But Okada as dickhead is something that was really going on for the latter last year of him in New Japan. And the idea, I think we all had in our head of, okay, you sign Okada, you bring in Okada as he's always been kind of presented in New Japan, as this sort of standalone guy for these last few years, who is this he has the big matches, but it's kind of dull and it's been done to death. Having him come in as a heel, but also in a way, given that these guys are EVPs, given they're talking about being elite, and they'll probably play up to the fact that there's all this big money that Okada's being paid, and isn't he worth it, and the rest of it. That'll be part of the gimmick as well. You've already put him in a title feud where, let's face it, you put a triple crown on Okada there as well. There's several different references, but you can have him having his own title belt for the time being. Whenever Kenny Omega comes back, there's a tailor-made big feud for him to come back into in there at the same time, and it feels fresh, and he doesn't have to talk. I really like everything about this. I just thought, my God, they've really thought about this properly. And you think, because it involves the Bucks and it involves characters who are going to have a degree of meaning in this company now at this point, at last, it feels fresh all round for all of them. Plus, at the same time, there is there's the whole real life aspect to this. The fact that when Okada was in TNA and the Bucks were in TNA, they were mates. They hung around when they meant nothing within wrestling. They deliberately looked out for Okada. The story goes that I think Vince Russo wanted Okada to blade, and he didn't really want to at all. And the Bucks kind of stood up for him as well at the same time. So I loved each of the aspects of this. I thought it was it was perfect. It kind of worked now. And already, you think about that as a match you do at Dynasty, taking that title off Eddie Kingston, I think that's absolutely fine. I think you've already established you're putting Eddie Kingston into a kind of a top line mix already. So, yeah. How will New Japan feel about that, though? I know the strong belt doesn't really matter in this mix, but technically that's Okada back to being a New Japan champ. I'm fine. Overall, fine with it. I think it's a good move, but that'd be a thing, wouldn't it? Yeah. That was the only negative. There wasn't a negative. It's a very, very minor gripe. I really didn't understand why Kingston came out in the first place. It was one of those, it's a bit like
bit like the opening segment, bit convenient. Just we need to get to a Kingston thing involving the Bucks and presumably and obviously Okada. Fuck it, he'll just come out and interrupt them. Even though in any other given week he doesn't give a fuck what the Young Bucks are doing. Whatever, we'll move on. It's fine. But like overall, like you're right. The thing it sets up there is Kingston Okada, which I'm into. Dare I say it, like you said there, a mega Okada, like 5, I think it would be. Might be an excuse to revisit the old matches for us there. You know, Osprey Okada maybe gets a bit of life. Just directions now. You can absolutely go in with heel Okada in that slot in the card, and like Hangman involved as well. There's fun stuff there. Really can't wait. So yeah, home run for me, genuinely, and the best.
Yep.
This has been the best week the Bucks have had in AEW in about 2.5 years for me, between the pay-per-view and between this, and I was even up until the pay-per-view, I'm not going to pretend I didn't say the things I said. I was a big detractor of them, and they've definitely made me eat a little bit of my own words this week, JP. So I really hope it keeps going. Really strong stuff. Although, I suppose, as Connor said, with the interrupts on the for Sting last week. I guess there you go. There's a bit of thought, in what they're doing there. So, Gotta always appreciate that. Down to, I think that's another thing. They wore the Okada like robes, didn't they? At Revolution, should have all seen it.
Oh yeah,
when they came out there, they do. In fairness to them, for lads I criticise, they do put that little bit of thought in and dot those I's and cross those T's. So yeah. Good stuff. Enjoyed that. And I thought the other big positive of the show, there are other news stories we can get into coming out of it, but was the main event. Wouldn't absolutely not go 5 stars. That is insane to me. Kyle Fletcher and Will Ospreay, but it was great. Very, very good TV match. Pretty much the match you described it was going to be on Spotlight JP is exactly what it was. A sprint. Kyle maybe got a bit more offense than you would probably want, but Ospreay's thing is going to be, top work rate guy who has top matches, so you need to give your opponent a lot to do that, and he did, and they really delivered. And then at the end of the night, Bryan Danielson coming out like, wow, like Danielson Ospreay, as it looks like it probably will be, coming up for that April pay-per-view, just fucking hook that to me veins as well. I don't think the commentary did a good job of selling that, if I was going to point out a negative. It just felt a bit like Excalibur was like, all right, anyway, see you guys, hope you enjoyed Dynamite. It wasn't like, I don't think they sold the excitement to the fact that it was Ospreay and Danielson in the same ring, and we were again going to pay off them bumping into each other back when Ospreay was around Forbidden Door time. We're going to get that match. That just sounds fucking brilliant as well. That sounds like proper AEW, and for good and bad, the feeling might be back, JP.
Do you know what? This is what, if you're thinking about AEW trying to distinguish their niche, what has always been the niche that they've generally succeeded on? We deliver like kind of great wrestling, and then by default great wrestling pay-per-views and kind of amazing matches. Well, guess what? You've signed one of the best wrestlers in the world in Will Ospreay. You've already got one of the other best wrestlers in the world, Bryan Danielson. Put them together as a match. It's not that fucking complicated, isn't it? And if this is the way they're going to be using Ospreay at this point, is he just comes in and he just has fucking brilliant matches. And we're talking about like Okada almost replacing Kenny Omega in some ways. Well, this is like another form of replacement of him as well at the same time, as part of this kind of overall reset. I'm completely fine with this. It makes me look forward to what Dynasty could be already, because I'm expecting obviously Young Bucks to be in kind of like a match for the tag titles. Kingston Okada, Danielson Ospreay. You're thinking, this is rock fucking solid already at this point. Like, if they're the directions that they're going in there as well. This match, in terms of I thought it was very good. Don't get me wrong; it was like an excellent TV match, and I think
3.75, Benno Classic.
Yeah, I was going to say 4, like at the higher end of TV matches, but not 5 stars. Fucking calm the fuck down. It was perfectly fine, like good stuff. And it's, again, can Will Ospreay work in terms of like live TV? Well, the rating would suggest perhaps like otherwise, but I think in some ways that shouldn't be the primary
range on it this week.
I don't think that should be the primary concern at this point. I think there's a lot of kind of re-establishing stuff that they have to do, and just the idea that he's going to be in there delivering fucking great matches is like, that's the use that you have of Will Ospreay, and that's definitely what you should be doing with him in the meantime. So yeah, hook that to my veins, mate. I'm completely down for that.
Elsewhere on the show, other news and notes worth mentioning. Jay White and Darby Allin had a segment. Again, that was another one where it was like match announced randomly by Tony Khan at the presser. A really weird match to announce. And then they've worked backwards to make it make sense with the promo battle. But I did think the promo battle was good. I thought this is what Jay White should be doing, not comedy nonsense. It's a little bit of a jump cut to go from him messing around doing 6-man comedy to now apparently having a very serious match with Darby Allin. But I'll take it. And I thought Darby Allin was very good because he was speaking from the heart about Sting and about climbing Mount Everest, which we'll see how that goes. It's Darby Allin. I'm sure he'll be fine, but fuck me.
It's a piss for him.
Oh yeah, it was probably considering who he is, but yeah, presumably it's to set up a strong singles win for Jay White over him. Didn't mind that at all. Was a bit of business. Don't you any thoughts on that or anything else on the show?
No, I didn't. I mean, in terms of that, like you say, I just thought it was a weird kind of setup for it, but it was like kind of. I thought in the main it was fine. I mean. There's the other stuff in terms of like what happened on the show. Like there's lots of kind of missable nonsense, like kill switch daddy magic. Like I could have cared less about.
That's a Cope's back.
Yeah, he is, isn't he? Yeah, chasing him all throughout the arena, and they've got that I Quit match in Toronto as well, which I'm sure WH is out there buying the fucking tickets as we speak. Like all over the place on that. Chris Jericho teaming up with Hook, and it just feels like, like, how's that going to end? We've been down this road before. It's like, I used to get on with your dad, so I'm going to end up teaming with you, and it's just like, for
nobody was asking. No one was asking, where's Poochie? No one was asking, where's Chris Jericho? Like, can he have a fucking week off? I know he can't because he's afraid that he'll never be able to claw back into where he was. Like, it's funny this is another thing that came up with Discord this week. I think people, it's become accepted wrestling law because mainly been pushed by Jericho himself. Chris Jericho knows when to go away. Chris Jericho knows when to reinvent himself. Does he? Or did he just sense that Vince McMahon was getting sick of him? Or Vince McMahon got sick of him and he jumped before he was pushed multiple times? Who knows? The problem is in AEW, Tony Khan's never going to get sick of him. Tony Khan's never going to push him out the door. Tony Khan's never going to take him off TV. He's going to be able to do this for as long as he possibly wants, as probably the highest paid wrestler in AEW. And yeah, he's never going to take that breakthrough. He said it's going to take an injury, and he's barely had any of them in his wrestling career. So like, fuck me. Who needs another Jericho program? Apparently it's with Hook. Apparently the other thing was, I think Meltzer said that he was supposed to be in this, we haven't mentioned it, this tag team tournament coming up, which sounds like it might be Continental Classic like, but he was going to team with Sammy for it before Sammy got suspended, so we should be thankful of Sammy, although maybe Hook is taking the bullet now.
Oh, fucking hell. But really, we went from having that cracking match with Samoa Joe to him being in the completely forgettable scramble match to now he's teaming up with Chris Jericho, and it's like, oh, bloody hell. What, so they can have a tag?
Who knows? We'll see.
Or feud. Yeah. Well, I don't know if that'll be the case. I think there'll be a thing of him taking Hook under his wing. I think that'll be the direction we're going. You know, that's what he always wants. And what it means is you need to show some character, kid. So I don't know. I'm sure he'll start fucking, I don't know, doing like, I don't know, big box, little box, some sort of like rave dancing or whatever in order to get himself over, because that's the weird mindset that he has. And I think that's the funny thing about this show. Like the stuff that I really liked, I really, really liked. But there wasn't when you look at it in the cold light of day, some completely like nonsense like that I wasn't mad about. This Stokely Hathaway, Chris Statlander, Willow Nightingale stuff that just seems to be carrying on for no real. Yeah, there's no real reason for this to be. That's fucking Rampage stuff. Like, doesn't need to be on here at all. Like, it really is a load of nonsense. There was a couple of times where Julia Hart appeared, like once with Sky Blue, I want to say it is, and then she appeared as part of House of Black, who are just doing their usual bullshit on there as well. Other than Jeff Jarrett might be turning face, teaming up with Jay Lethal and Mark Briscoe.
The one we wanted?
I'm down with that. Like, I mean, if it comes down to a battle of who's not going to be putting the other one over, I think, I'm hoping Jeff has managed to convince Tony of like, nah, Tommy's he's laying on the mat for me this time. He's looking up at the lights. But yeah, very like kind of weird, like I have to say, for some of those little bits that I just thought that they were kind of like throwing into it, that, dare I say it, like whenever we end up watching Collision and reviewing it on Spotlight, never really happens on Collision. But there you go.
Well, the show overall, bit of a ratings letdown against a tough competition. 779,000 viewers, down 5.2% from last week. Lowest viewership total since October last year. So not good from a numbers point of view. But like you said, I think I shared a lot of those misgivings. But I think overall, I'm positive. You give me an Osprey Danielson program, I'm positive. You give me a segment like that, the Bucks and Okada, I'm positive. Swerve's still in a promising place. There's other things to enjoy up and down the card. Dare I say it, I'm even kind of half into to Christian and Cope doing a big blow off match in Toronto 30 years later. I think there's a lot of positive to say right now about AEW. Whether it continues through to the weekend, we will see.
And we got Mercedes Mone next week.
Yeah, like, I was going to say about that. Like, they didn't push that enough. They did that was kind of conspicuous by its absence. I know Meltzer and Alvarez have been going on and on and on about that, and pumping out the YouTube videos about advertising and promotion. It's doing good. The Mercedes show for next week, it could be doing great. I don't know if, the Last Dance treatment. I think even Last Dance got a little bit more than this, as far as like a push, didn't it? Or at least more of a wink and a nod. I think they could have done with something to just hammer home. Maybe they should just announce it, or maybe it should be a match or a mystery opponent type of situation. I don't know, but yeah, maybe over the next week or so, more and more people will cotton on.
Yeah, hopefully so. I mean, like I'm kind of with you on that. I think there's more stuff that they definitely could be doing with that. And I know there's one of the stories in there as well that before she's even debuted for AEW, she's talked about her potential return to WWE.
She won't be around for long, is what we know. No. Yeah. I mean, we all know that, but just don't say it out loud. We all know you're going to end up back. Most of them, Jericho, he'll be getting a Hall of Fame run at some point in WWE. Yeah. They're all going to end up back there eventually, but can we get excited for your debut first? I've got the ticket sales up there, so it's currently set up for, but obviously can do bigger at the Garden in Boston, 7,800, and they've distributed 7,000 of those, but it could, again, they can push the stage back and make plenty of more room if they want to. Still a good number, just not the a completely blow away number. But in fact, a good's underselling it. A very, very, very good number compared to some of the houses coming up. Like Collision this weekend's in the 1,000 to 2,000 range, unless there's a big last minute walk up. So that's a big number for AEW right now. Don't get me wrong, it just could be bigger.
Yeah, and I think this is the other thing as well. I mean, and I think there's always going to be the big thing for me is, are they going to do, and what I'm hoping to do, straight into a storyline with Tony Storm taking the title off her at Dynasty as well, to kind of add that, to make that feel like a really big show as well at the same time, and hopefully do a big number for that.